Welcome to Echoes of the Dark. I am Violet Nocturne, your midnight mistress of whispered fears. Tonight's tale weaves itself tightly around the fabric of our deepest anxieties. Are you prepared to lose yourself in threads of dread? It all began in a quaint little shop nestled on a cobblestone street that time seemed to forget. The kind of place where the air smells faintly of aged wood and history, heavy with whispers of ghosts past. The owner, a frail yet spry elder named Maeve, was known not only for her enigmatic charm, but for possessing an unearthed skill, a methodical art of embroidery rumored to be as ancient as it was arcane. Now, enter our protagonist, a textile artist named Clara, who stumbled upon Maeve's shop one drizzling afternoon. The day felt oddly heavy, the sky adorned with slow-moving clouds that seemed to watch her every step. Her artistic passion had teetered close to obsession, pushing her to seek rare fabrics and techniques to invoke emotion through her work. And on that lifeless afternoon, she believed she'd found her ultimate muse. "Oh, dear child," Maeve croaked as Clara stepped inside, shaking droplets off her umbrella. "You've come at just the right time." Her weathered hands clutched an ornate needle case, one unlike any Clara had seen. Silver, etched with a swirling design that seemed to shift when light danced across it. And laid behind glass, like artifacts in a museum, were folded pieces of cloth. Only, these fabrics seemed to pulse gently, almost imperceptibly if one wasn't staring too hard. Clara noticed. She couldn't look away. "What is this?" she asked, feeling a prickling sensation crawl up her spine. "This," Maeve whispered, her voice barely louder than the hum of the dim, flickering bulb overhead, "is more than cloth. These are remnants of lives, stories, moments immortalized through threads that bind space and memory. Few know how to coax such art into being." Her eyes sparkled darkly as she added, "Would you care to learn?" Clara's curiosity obliterated all hesitation. Something electric surged between them as Maeve handed her the silver needle. But the moment her skin made contact with it, Clara gasped. Visions erupted behind her eyes. Fragmented memories of people she had never known, festivals soaked in old-world laughter, tears at the edge of gravestones, and the wrenching grip of farewells delivered across decades. "I can't. What is this?" She stumbled backward, dropping the needle. Maeve picked it up effortlessly, as though she had expected Clara's reaction all along. "Child, this art is not given freely. It is earned," Maeve intoned. "The needle connects you to the threads of life, but it demands loyalty. It will show you beauty, yes, but also horrors. To master it is to understand the balance. Come back when you are ready." Unable to process the encounter, Clara fled the shop and returned home. But her days became restless, consumed by thoughts of what Maeve had revealed. Was it really possible to infuse such raw humanity into material form? Her question burned more fiercely with each sleepless night. Inevitably, Clara returned. Though she appeared eager, Maeve offered but a tight-lipped smile, as though already mourning an inevitability she dared not disrupt. The elder began Clara's lessons, demonstrating stitches ranging from the familiar to the twistedly intricate, patterns that whispered as they unfolded. And then, Maeve handed over the faded needle once more. This time, Clara held steady, even as the visions threatened to consume her. The needle warmed in her hand as though alive. She practiced. The days bled together with her ceaseless stitching. But strange things began to happen in her apartment. Tapestries she had hung for inspiration seemed to ripple, although no windows allowed a draft. Shadows clung longer in the corners, brimming with edges that seemed to reach for her as she worked. And the cloth, it began to take on an almost unbearable allure, somehow vibrant and suffocating at once, like staring directly into another person's soul. Clara began to lose time. Hours sunk into an abstract nothingness as her fingers wove stitch after stitch. At first, she admired her growing skill, but soon, she couldn't ignore the figures beginning to appear in her work. A crumbling cloister, veined hands clutching an extinguished candle, and the faces neither youthful nor aged, but impossibly weathered by unfathomable experiences, and one figure that began to appear more and more, Maeve. Her embroidery outgrew the dimensions of her workspace, forcing Clara to pin the now imposing creation on the walls of her small apartment. The shadows stared. When she gazed upon her stitchwork too long, they whispered. And then one night, she woke to find herself seated by the looming fabric once again. She didn't remember rising, let alone working. But there it was, the latest section she could not recall creating. This time, it wasn't Maeve who stared back, but a hollow effigy of herself. Her embroidered form radiated a dread so heavy that the air felt viscous. Yet her hand moved unbidden, tethered to the needle as though it controlled her, not the other way around. Terrified, Clara dragged the sprawling work into an alley under the cover of night. She doused it in lighter fluid, struck a match, and watched her creation burn. The fire roared fiercely, unsettlingly so for mere fabric, illuminating the depths of that grim alley with fiery malevolence. And yet, as the last corner turned to ash, Clara felt emptier. Returning home, Clara found the silver needle on her table as if it had never left. And etched into the wood was a swirling design, identical to Maeve's fateful needle case. Desperate, she ran to confront Maeve, but the shop was gone, replaced by an unassuming patisserie with no trace of its prior tenant. The cobblestones gleamed as if newly washed, wiping clean the stains of her torment. Weeks passed. Clara refused to touch the needle again, but that was of little solace. One can flee the thread, but the thread remembers. Late one moonless night, she heard the hum of voices. Turning, a shiver cracked her spine. On her bedroom wall, shadows began to form the shapes of her unholy creation, and there, at the heart of it, sewn into its pulsating threads, was Clara herself, screaming silently as the stitches tightened forever. Oh, dear listener, do take care when you weave your ambitions into reality. Some patterns may require threads you're not ready to unravel. Until next time, I am Violet Nocturne, whispering to you from the echoes of the dark.